Okay, today is Wednesday, January 27th. This is CAD 212 Class 3. Today in class, we took attendance. Our Zoom function should be working now. Today in class, we're also going to review our vocabulary. We're going to talk about the plan set and symbols, and then talk about the midterm project. The floor plan for the sketch work that you'll be doing will be due Monday before class. And we'll go ahead and get started with vocabulary now. So first thing I want you to do, or you can just follow along with me, all this information is going to be located in Canvas under Files. For y'all, it should be under Spring 2021. Here we have the information about lesson plans, midterm project, and files. So let's go ahead and jump into the files file. Vocabulary information is located down here. We'll go ahead and open that. It's really important to use the language of the industry whenever we're in class. We're going to be using a lot of these same terms and things like that. So it's real important that you know them. I'm just going to run through a few of them right here. When we do have a quiz later this semester, we'll refer back to this vocabulary as part of the quiz. Obviously, some of the important ones that we want to take note of right off the top is architecture and engineering. A lot of times I like to see, people complain about architects hate engineers and engineers hate architects, blah, blah, blah. But basically these two functions, these two professions are the same side, are two different sides of the same coin. Architecture is the art and science of designing a building and other structures, and engineering is the application of scientific, economic, social knowledge to design a building. The way I like to define it is like, if we had architecture with no engineers, we'd have a lot of fabulous looking buildings that I don't think I'd want to go into. That would probably fall down. And if we just had engineers without architects, we have like a lot of really well-built squares. So you can think about it like that. Other things that we want to take note of is contractor. Obviously, this is the person that we supply the plans to, who is going to be the creator of the building, supplies the necessary work materials, coordinates subcontractors in the building process. We'll go ahead and jump down to building codes. Building codes is a big important one. So we always want to, whenever you're putting together any type of a set of plans or things like that, we always want to refer to building codes to see how we're supposed to have something constructed. It lays out the laws, standards, specifying requirements for building construction. Legend, we'll learn how to do this in Revit, is a list of symbols and their corresponding meanings used in a set of plans. Schedule, we'll learn how to do this also. Schedule is the list of details or sizes for building components such as doors, windows, or beams. We're going to focus this more so on like doors and windows. Schedules will make a little bit more sense as we start to play with those. Specifications. Specifications is kind of a big one when we're actually making a set of construction documents. And this is some things that you may want to take notes about. Construction documents are made up of plans, which are the drawings, and specifications. So when people talk about construction documents, people don't usually talk about blueprints anymore, but what you're actually submitting is a set of construction documents that are made up of plans and specifications. Specifications are the written directions used by a job. So it could be like a book. It's basically, that's what it looks like. And it spells out exactly in there how you want the contractor to build your building. It goes from like different types of paints to different types of flooring to wall types and things like that. They're very thorough as far as specifications are concerned. So the thing to take away from this is when you're turning in a set of construction documents for a bid, they're made up of plans and specifications, and those will come back to haunt us on a quiz. We'll jump down to north arrow. North arrow must be shown on a set of plans. It shows the representation of the structure on the planet, the true north, how things are aligned, and that'll make sense as we go through the plans a little bit more. Elevation, a couple different meanings for elevation in here, but we use that a lot. Obviously, elevation is the height of a survey above sea level. We hear that a lot, especially down in New Orleans. And then also how we'll be referring to it in architectural drawings is referred to as the view of a structure. Now we'll talk about north, south, east elevations, things like that. So it's like if you're standing at the front of the house, that could also be the front elevation. So it's the actual view of that building, wall, etc. We'll jump down to plans. Plans is a set of drawings created to give all details of the projects, as they're also referred to as the top view, like such as a floor plan, plan views. So this is the other half of the construction documents that we talked about previously that go along with specifications. So blueprints is still used, but it's not really used in industry too much. You know, people aren't going to say, send me the blueprints. It'll be like, send me the plans and things like that. But blueprints is still kind of used as a shorthand, but you won't actually hear that, within used properly. Let's put it that way. Renderings is pretty fun. And Revit will learn how to do that. It's a pictorial drawing showing what the final object will look like when it's finished in the real world. So yeah, the renderings are pretty cool, and we'll learn how to do that as well. We'll talk about these a little bit more later. Later in the semester, we're also going to do an exercise on redlining. You'll hear that a lot, especially when you're first starting out as a junior architect. You do a lot of red lines, and that is a slang term that's used in the process where architects make editorial notes on a set of drawings, which means like if you turn in this set of drawings to the lead architect, and there's a couple of things that need to be redone or changed and things like that, they'll go back over the set of drawings in a red pen and mark them all up and give them back to you. And they'll be like, make sure that you do the red lines and you just make those corrections. So we'll do like, usually I do a red line exercise, live in class, but we'll figure out a way to do that virtually. And usually that has to do with when we learn how to do curtain walls. So what I do is just kind of read through these. Again, these are just some minor vocab words for you to learn and be familiar with as we use them throughout class. Any questions about this, y'all? Okay, cool. Next thing I want to go over with y'all today is information about plans and symbols. That's also located in our files. So let's go open up this plan set. You can open that up or just follow me along on here. And I'm going to go ahead and let's see, I'm going to download that. It's a little bit easier to work with outside of there. Let's go ahead and open up symbols as well. They kind of work together, these two. So let's go over these symbols first, and we'll see how they're used on the plan set. Obviously, these are a lot of symbols that are going to be used throughout the drawings as we create them. Dimensions is pretty straightforward. Obviously, it'll give you the dimension of a wall, etc. Leader, if you need to make notes on something, it indicates where it is, a leader tag. We will be doing rune tags. We'll learn how to create those. They'll look different than this right here, but we'll get to that later on. We will be learning how to create levels, height elevations, and how these really kind of drive a lot of information that works in Revit. We'll learn how to do window tags. We'll do door tags, but we'll use this one that looks like a tic tac, not this one right here, but this one. We'll learn how to do door tags. There's also material tags, keynotes, partition types. Partition types we may play with a little bit, and this has to do with what type of wall type they are. As we go through that set of plans, you'll see that there are many different wall types that are used. Sometimes, depending on code, will determine what type of wall is used in different areas, such as you want a 2-hour fire rated wall in any kind of stairwell. This will allow people to, obviously get out of the building a lot quicker and keep the fire, away from that stairwell. You want to protect certain areas. So different areas and different walls require different types of construction, and that's why we have this partition type here. Ceiling materials, ceiling heights, detail tag on the set of plans. We'll see how this works. This is just drawing your attention to a particular area on the, say, floor plan, for instance. If we want to highlight where this detail is going to be shown, it'll show up here. It'll show up as the drawing and then the sheet number. Elevation is going to give you the drawing number and sheet number where that elevation is located. We're going to learn how to do section views. And in the drawing set, we'll talk about column grids, but we're actually not going to use column grids for this class. Keep this sheet in mind when we refer back to this for any type of quiz that we have, and when you're actually annotating your drawing in Revit. Close that. All right, so actually I should have left that open. I'll leave that open for now. All right, so let me just jump into the plan set. This is the actual much abbreviated plan from where I used to work. This is the title sheet. Also in your files, we have a way out how we're going to actually name sheets. We'll go into this a little bit further when we talk about sheets. But for now, just know that this is a general information sheet, also known as the title sheet. So it's listed as a G101. Pretty much on the title sheet, we're going to have title of the project, an image, a breakdown of the information, who the different consultants were, what the project architect was. The next sheet that we have on here is a G102, which is a general information sheet 2, and this is general project information. Our sheet is not going to look this complicated, but I do want you to get an idea of what an actual set of plans looks like. So in this particular one, we're set up with a bunch of abbreviations here. You'll see that they have the repetition of the symbols. These are the symbols that we just reviewed. I pulled that from this information here. Information about the project, if you want to zoom in on that and read that a little bit more in table of contents. So you can see that this is the entire table of contents of every sheet that was used in this set of drawings, and there's quite a lot of them. So we're not actually going to produce this many, but it's nice to know what's involved with that. So let's zoom in just a little bit so you can see. So just in the table of contents, you'll see that the different areas of the plans are set up by discipline. So we do have the general information sheets, any kind of civil drawings will be listed as a C101, landscapes L101, architectural drawings right here. So we have the architectural drawings are A101, different disciplines such as structural S101, mechanical M, plumbing. Just kind of makes sense. It's a way to just kind of keep things organized in a set of plans. So it's just easy to kind of flip to that. We know that anytime we're in a section with P that we have, these are our plumbing drawings. And when you get a chance, just read through this stuff and familiarize yourself a little bit with it. Also on here, we do have that legend, which gives us the materials, and then the vicinity map. We'll learn how to create this vicinity map as well. So this first sheet is our A101, which is our site plan. This is a very extensive site plan. We will create one, but it will not be this in depth. Here is the first floor plan, our A201. This is a civic center, basketball court included on here, bleachers, things like that. What I want to draw your attention to is the use of these different symbols within here. You'll see we have the grid laid out that we talked about. You can zoom down here and read these different notes, how that was going to be incorporated. But if we look a little closer, you'll see we have our window tags, we have our door tags. We're going to have stuff that looks like this. Here you have different partition tags or wall tags. There's a partition 2 type wall, partition 1 type wall. Elevation tags are being used in here. Keynotes right here with this 24. One of the big ones that we want to take a look at, you can see that there's so much information that goes into a set of drawings. There's no way we can just do everything on one sheet. But with this overall floor plan, and we refer down to some of these little guys right here, these little detail views, you can see that this detail of this wall section is going to be located on page A251, and it's going to be drawing 1. Here's another one. It's still a drawing 1, A251. So even though these are in different locations, the way these wall types are created, the way these wall joints are created are similar. So the contractor can see that. Also on page A251 is the detail of this wall section right here. And that'll be drawing number 9. So if we scroll down, I have included the plan details. So here's how this area of this wall is built. You can see there's a lot of detail that goes into that. And this is really what tells the contractor how this wall is going to be created. We're not going to be going into this detail stuff. There's 2 more people trying to get in. Oh, chats. Y'all can chat, but yeah. Okay, so here we have the I lost track of what I was saying. The detail of the wall. We're not going to create these detailed drawings. This is done more in like a structural class. And then here we have that plan detail of that area for detail 9, how that's created. It's just kind of interesting to look through that and see how that's built. This is our schedule page, and on here we're going to have different schedule views. So here we have our schedules for our doors, our windows, and they do have louvers in this particular building. On this one, they do have examples of what these door types are going to look like, which is kind of interesting. We're not going to do door types, but we are going to have different schedules created. And this kind of gives you an idea. It's not going to be as complicated as this, but once again, it gives you a real life example of how this is going to work. Any questions about this, y'all? As we start creating our sheets, it is important to be familiar with this and refer back to these, how you want your sheets to be laid out, especially when we're looking at our G101 sheets, our G102 sheets. But we're going to learn how to do all of this within Revit. So any questions about that right now?
Yeah, how long did it take to make this document and how many people were involved?
This one took about 6 months, and there's one main architect on, well, there's a few architects that work on here. So there's the project architect, but then there's 3 other people that worked under that person that developed the actual plans and the specifications. So it does take a good long time to get those done. So yeah, it was about 6 months.
And would those people be working on other projects at the same time, or is everybody like one project at a time?
It depends on the workload at the time. Sometimes we have architects working on a couple projects at one time, but if they just have this one main project, then they'll do that. Like the project architect, he had a couple going on at the same time, and then there's a couple different people that work under him for different projects. So say for instance, we have this project going on, and then also we did the New Orleans Parish Prison at the same time. So some of those architects that aren't the lead architects that just kind of do the redlining and stuff like that, they could be working on a couple of different projects as well. So it just depends on the workload. There's usually like under the lead architect, one person that's going to run this entire project and that's it. And then the junior architects will be on a couple of different ones doing like the little stuff. Well, not little stuff, but doing the meat and potatoes work as far as laying out the drawings and things like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a lot of information in one little package. Holy.
Oh my gosh, there's a lot of information. Even on this is, I mean, this is just a couple sheets and there's a lot of information on here. So usually the junior architects are the ones that are going to be knocking out some of this stuff. Also, depending on how long a firm's been around, you're going to maybe be able to pull some of this information from another project and use it in this one. And then you've got to be the person that goes in and knows how to manipulate this stuff and change it up to make it work for the current project you're at. So there's shortcuts you can do, but you know, it always has to tie into the correct project and the correct measurements that you're working on.
Yeah, real quick too, when looking at some of these like tags and all that stuff, like the symbols, the call outs, all that good stuff. So like Revit, it looks like it's really cool for like modeling and like creating the design, but like how does it work when you're trying to I'm having a brain fart, but when you're trying to like put the measurements on there, like how does it work in that way?
Oh, it's really nice. You're gonna like it. We'll do like a little quick exercise after the lecture. I can just kind of show you right now. I can jump into that. But and the annotations are so much easier. All this is so much easier.
Okay.
But we'll go into all how that works. Then yeah. I'll finish the lecture and then anybody who wants to hang around, we can go through like any kind of like Revit particular questions for you. But we're gonna learn how to do all that. It's so much easier. So much easier than AutoCAD.
Yeah, because like in CAD I had to like make my own or whatever, and I guess there's stuff I could download, but like it was a pain in the butt, you know.
Yeah, it is, and especially when you're talking about scaling and things like that. But yeah, it's so much easier. That wasn't one of my favorite things to do in AutoCAD, but it's so much easier here. Yeah. All right, so let's just go ahead and jump into what we're going to talk about for the midterm project. Where did I put that? So I'm going to give you some more information on this, but this is just kind of like a high-level overview, how the midterm is going to run, and especially we're going to talk about what I need you to do between now and Monday. So your actual midterm project is going to be drawing your house. I use this one every semester because it's kind of like a good starter project. And you're going to be taking measurements and doing a sketch of your house. And, you know, this is probably the best time to do it because we're stuck in our house right now. So if, for instance, if you're drawing something and you're measuring things, and then when we go to take and put them into Revit, if you forget a measurement, you can just go to your house where you're at and measure it at that time. So that's why we kind of use the house. I've got some examples in here in midterms, how you can start doing your sketching. So you can see here, this is just a quick example of a floor plan sketch, what you'd want to do. I've kind of got it spelled out for you a little bit, but I just want you to kind of refer back to these. You can look at these as just different examples of how people use sketching. I really like the ones with the squares on. You don't have to go out and buy that for this. It's whatever works for you. But if especially my architecture people, This is something that you're going to be interested in, and you know, obviously doing. It's good to invest in like some of this grid paper. But you can see how that works. And then example 2. Here's another outline. We'll just leave this one up as we refer back to this. So what I suggest when you get started actually measuring your house is I'll do an overall exterior measurement. So here you have your exterior measurements 30 by 35.5. Now we can drill down to be very, very specific, but I'm not worried about half inches, or you know, if that's a half inch or half foot. I think it's half foot. 30, if it's 35 foot 6 inches, let's make it 6 inches, but don't worry about going into half inch specifics and things like that. We're not going to be that specific. Let's try and just get like 35 foot 6 inches if that's it. Makes it a little bit clearer. So you want to get your overall exterior dimensions of the house. And then once you have that, you want to do your interiors. We're going to do walls, windows, doors. These are the first things that we want to concentrate on. And how we'll do that is, say, this room in particular, we'll do measurement from the interior of this wall to the interior of this wall, and then the interior of this wall to the interior of this wall. So you've got your 2 overall dimensions going this way and this way. So you've got a 10 by 11 foot room. But then we also want to have the dimension from this wall to the interior sill of this window, the size of the window, and then the interior sill to this wall here. So you want to get all these little measurements that are missed right here. So there's actually going to be 1, 2, 3 measurements here. And then you're going to want the measurement from this wall to the interior of this opening, the size of the opening, and then this measurement here to this measurement here. Once again, another 3 measurements, and then 3 here. Measurement from this wall to this opening, measure the size of the opening, and then opening to the wall. And you want to do that throughout the entire house. So this one's got 10 by 11 feet. I'm not a fan of doing it like this, and you don't have to worry about doing your square feet. Revit will do that for us when we need it to. But it's always good to like run your dimensions this way, like 6 by 6. And then we also want to make sure that we get all the door openings and window openings as well. So we want to do a sketch similar to this, or similar to one of these other ones that we have here. And take a closer look at this one. So here we have the dimensions. They've got it across this way. They've got it across this way. When you do your dimensions for your kitchen, do not worry about doing a kitchen layout. We're not going to do that right now. So you don't need to dimension to the kitchen cabinet or anything. We're looking at overall just dimensions in that room. If you have a 2-story house, just do the dimensions on the first floor for now. And we'll talk about what we're going to do with the second floor after. So use that. Once again, here, 26 foot 3 inches. Here, granted, it's easy to tell that this is 12, but sometimes I think it's just easier to lay this out at like a 12 foot and a 10 foot, which is how we would do it in Revit, and then 14 foot. Once again, you want to get the dimensions from this wall to the interior, this window opening, the window opening size, and then what the dimension would be. Obviously, this is flush to that window. It's kind of a puzzle to start with, and Revit's kind of a puzzle, but any kind of doing any type of architectural plans, I think it's kind of like doing some type of puzzle. I mean, what people are really looking at to architects for is to solve problems. We're problem solvers, we're puzzle solvers. If you've got a layout in a house and people don't know how to, arrange their house or how they want it on a lot, or if there's like problems with the lot, we're actually going in and we're solving problems for these people. So having an analytical puzzle solving mind is very good. And that's kind of like what we're starting out with right here. I mean, we're not actually creating anything new, but we're still, as we start creating these sketches and getting your measurements done and taking these sketches and measurements to Revit itself, you're going to see that there's still going to be some things that you're going to have to figure out. There's things that we don't know, especially when we do this project in class, that we have some brand new construction where your walls are going to be a typical 4.5-inch wall, 1/2-inch gyp on both sides, and a 3.5-inch wood member in the middle. Some of your older houses, those walls may be a little bit thicker because the dimensions of the wood at that time. The people talk about 2x4s, the actual, which is the main lumber that creates the walls of our house. If we're looking at the actual dimensions of a 2x4, it's actually 1.5 by 3.5, where if you're some of our older houses, they had true dimensional lumber, which was an actual 2x4. So there's several little things like that that we're going to have to take into consideration when we start laying these guys out. And we'll talk about that in class on Monday, how we're going to start creating things in Revit. So jump back to this. Also, the main thing I want you to concentrate on for Monday is getting your overall exterior dimensions done, your interior dimensions, which will include walls, windows, and doors. We will have to go back and we'll need to get the heights of certain, the heights of your ceilings, heights of the doors. Older houses have much bigger doors. The height of the window sill from the floor to the sill itself to see where those windows are located. I don't need this for Monday, but I do need you to submit a sketch, much like the ones I just showed you, that give me the overall measurements and then the wall, window, and door measurements. And then I'm going to make that live on Canvas, and that model be due just Monday before class, so we can actually jump in and start working on Revit at that time. So what I'd like you to do for the remainder of the class is, you can go ahead and start your measurements or whatever works out best for you, just do before Monday. So what we'll do is we'll open the floor up to any kind of questions that you have. And if anybody wants to hang around for a little bit more, we'll talk about Revit a little bit more, and we'll just drop from there. Any questions about class today, y'all?
Yes, Ms. Martin, I wanted to get some clarity on what specific requirements you need for Monday's class for the layout for the home.
Yeah, what you'll be submitting for that mod for Monday is something that looks like this.
Okay.
It'll just be a sketch. So you can just take a picture of it, or if you got a scanner at home, whatever, just upload that so I can at least see, I can review these and see anything that's missing or stuff like that. Usually what we do when we're live in class is when you bring that to class, I have a chance to be able to sit down with y'all one-on-one and kind of go through it and we talk about it and stuff. It's a little bit difficult, unfortunately, in this situation, so we try and do it the best that we can. I still like to work one-on-one with y'all a lot, just because I think that works best. So that I've incorporated that into previous classes, I guess somewhat successfully. Hopefully it helps. But we'll take it from that as we go by. But yeah, this is pretty much exactly what I want you to submit. The first floor of your house sketched, including exterior measurements and interior measurements of walls, windows, and doors. You don't have to do the height ones, but I did want to list that on here so you are aware that we will need that eventually.
Okay. So laying out the kitchen of the house is required, correct? Because on this sketch, it's just basically the rooms and the walls and the exterior of the building.
We do not want to do the cabinets. You do not need to do
Okay.
cabinets or anything like that. Yeah, we don't need that. Just
Okay.
just something like this where the cabinets are not located, because when we actually going to have, if you're actually building the house, you're not going to have that cabinet layout right away, depending on the house. You know, you'll have the room, and then you can come back and you can create that kitchen layout from there. So we just want the actual, just the floor plan for now, something that looks like this.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Chloe, is that you?
Yes. Hi.
Hey, good to see you.
Yes.
Yeah, let me know if you need anything.
I will.
Or good to hear you. All right. Any other questions about class, y'all?
Are we going to be representing the wall thickness in our drawings too? I noticed some show it and some don't.
Great question. Very good. So no, not on this one. Yes, this does particularly show 4.5-inch walls. And that's a little bit of what I was talking about before, about we don't know the thickness of all the walls. So in order to make things just a little bit easier on us, I use general wall sizes for this class for everybody, because, and this is what's going to get kind of throw you off a little bit when we start putting this thing together. Why I call it a puzzle is because we're going to have some walls that'll be 4.5, some walls that'll be 5.5. Some of you, such as brick walls, if you have a brick house, you're going to have a much thicker wall than, you know, your neighbor that just has regular siding. So we're going to use a general wall size for that, and hopefully it'll make things a little bit easier for everybody.
Okay,
But yeah,
so
you don't need that.
should we just draw in like a general just thickness, but like still show like 2 lines for the walls? Because I noticed this one has like, it actually draws in the walls, and another one you showed just had a single line, it looked like, for the walls.
Actually on that, it's a good question too. When I do my site plan, when I do my plans like this, I just use a single wall. I know that there's a wall that's going to be there. I know it's not going to be that one line. So I'll just, let me close this and find that other one that was, yeah. When I do mine, they look more like this.
Okay, so it doesn't matter if we do one way or the other.
Whatever you're more comfortable with,
Okay.
whatever works better for you. When I'm just going in and doing an initial inspection and just doing my room sizes, I'll just use a single line. The important thing is when we're, you know, actually more important about it when we're doing a CAD drawing than as opposed to a Revit drawing, because CAD's the one where we have to remember to put that extra wall in, but Revit will automatically do it for you. So you don't have to do the double wall thickness on there. You can do it like this.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Also, you said dimensioning for windows, you measure from wall to center of the window, and for doors, you do to the outside.
Yeah, another good question. Good. So there's 2 different ways that we can dimension to doors and windows. What I would typically want you to do, what I want you to do to measure it for this class to make it more specific. Close this. Let me jump back to this one. I know it's not great for all of it. So when we're actually going to lay out our dimensions in Revit, there's 2 ways we can do it. We can do it from wall to the middle of the window, like you had mentioned, or we can do it from wall to the edge of the window. But what I want you to do to get an accurate measurement is go from the interior side of the wall to the interior side of the window, to the inside of that sill, then do the window opening itself. So you have the correct measurement of the window. So we'll get the placement of it this way, from the interior of the wall to this side of the window. But when we actually dimension it, there's 2 different ways that we can do it. So to get an accurate measurement for you, interior wall to the inside of the window to the other side of the window.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Any other questions, y'all? All right, cool. So that's it for class today. The CAD mod will be, the Canvas mod will be live later today for you to turn that in. It'll just be do Monday before class. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now and open up Revit, and we can kind of play with that a little bit if you're not interested, because we're going to do it later on. So if you want to, if you don't have to hang around, but if there's anybody that just wants to kind of like see some stuff right now, we can kind of just play with that now. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and open up Revit if anybody's interested.